today's podcast, I had Kirsty Lewis, who owns School of Facilitation. It was a really good call, and the thing is with this call is me and Kirsty had a chat about half an hour before and half an hour afterwards. I'll put all the notes in how you can get in contact with Kirsty Lewis and the direct link to her company, School of Facilitation. But yeah, just enjoy the chat and wait till the end. So on this one, I kind of asked a question at the beginning about the 5 items, but then we kind of ended the call and then we had to reset it up. So it's a bit like an outtake. So yeah, if you want to find out what Kirsty does with these 5 items, then really do wait until you hear the music right at the end. Cheers, guys. I'll hand you over to me and Kirsty. Enjoy. Welcome to the Mind Chimp Podcast. Welcome, Kirsty. Welcome to the Mind Chimp Podcast.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you here. So I guess before we even get started to find out about who you are and what you're all about, I just want you to pick 5 numbers from 1 to 100, if you could, please.
Number 1,
Yep.
9, 17,
Okay.
22,
Yep.
and 8.
And 8. Awesome. We will come to them near the end.
Okay.
So I guess because when I asked you to jump onto the podcast, I asked you to kind of give me what your tagline was. And can you remember what it is you said?
I think I said something along the lines of do what you love.
You did indeed. Well done. Well remembered. So why did you pick that?
Based on your questions, I was reflecting on why I do what I do. And hindsight's an amazing thing. And as I've looked back over my life, even from when I was at school, I've always done what I've loved. And that's always led me to really great things, meet great people, and do jobs that I really, really enjoy. I just didn't realise that for probably the first 30 years of my life, though, that I was doing everything that I loved doing. And that was why everything was probably going in the direction that it did go. So, for example, I studied geography at uni, and everyone was like, why are you doing geography? And I just looked at them and go, well, because I really enjoy it and it's easy and I like doing it. It didn't occur to me to do anything other. So, yeah, do what you love.
Okay. So,
it's become a bit of a mantra.
So would you say you're doing what you love right now?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So which leads me on to my next question. What is it you do now? Who are you? What are you all about, I guess? Maybe give us a bit of a brief bio of who you are.
Kirsty Lewis, founder of School of Facilitation. And the School of Facilitation, she's just over 3 years old, born from a complete passion for designing and delivering really great learning in corporates, but also creating really great learning spaces for practitioners, so people who, like myself, are facilitators, trainers, and coaches. And I'm assuming quite a few of your listeners, we have day books. We have books where we scribble notes in meetings that make us feel important. So I used to have these at Diageo where I used to work, and if I look back at them, and I still have some of them now, the back of those books, I was always writing what would make a really great workshop. So I was part of a team that delivered lots of workshops. So I was always critiquing them and thinking what could we do better and how we could do that. So this all started over 12 years ago in my head.
So I guess maybe let's go back 12 years ago. So for them who don't know you, you know, I think we've spoken in the past about your stepping stones to get here. And maybe you could talk to us about you applying for the milk round.
So I was at Manchester Uni and I finished my degree and stepped into the role of sports president, at the time the AU, and did a year of sport and organising sports activities. And I was like, God, I've got to get a job. So back in 96, it was, applied for various milk round roles. And I got 2 interviews, one with P&G and one with Bass Brewers. And the only company that took me forward to second interview was Bass. And then, I got a job with them in a sales and marketing role on their grad scheme. So I started to work for them and had some very entertaining times. I was a sales rep in the Huddersfield, Bradford and West Leeds area. So that took me around about Yorkshire, which was brilliant. And then I also lived up in Scotland and worked with the Tennent's Lager team as well. So I got to go to some cool events up there. Lots of rugby, even the football, and tea in the park at one point. And then from there, I moved to work for Guinness, and I worked in the trade marketing team at Park Royal Brewery in West London. And I joined in 1999 just as Guinness sponsored the World Cup. So that was my introduction to rugby. And I got to have my first pint of Guinness ever at Bristol Student Union on 17th of March, 1999. And basically I stayed with Guinness, that morphed into Guinness EDV and then Diageo for just over 8 years. In a variety of then sales roles and finally in a capability role, which I guess translates to other people as L&D. And by the time I left Diageo, I was part of the global capability team and had a real amazing time, 2.5 years of traveling all over the world, working with sales teams, supporting them in creating strategies, delivering plans, coaching line managers to be great line managers, running workshops for sales teams to either improve on their business planning or their selling skills, even their negotiation skills. So I had an amazing, corporate half of my life for the first 12 years.
I think.
And then I resigned.
Go for it.
Well, I don't know if I said it to you. I look back at my diary for 2007, and for the first time ever, I wrote a diary, and I reread it recently, and I was like, ooh, I wasn't in a very happy place. When you work in the drinks industry, there was just a perception that you do drink, which is very true. But you also work hard and play hard. So I was doing all of that and living a social life outside of work. And I think I was just getting really tired and unhappy. So when I resigned, it felt totally right for me. But it was really fascinating, other people's reactions of, what, you're leaving a corporate to do what? And 11 years ago, people weren't doing the freelance thing. People weren't working for themselves as more regularly as they are now. So that sort of threw a few people. But I had just started, I was a year into my own personal learning journey in that I'd just finished my NLP practitioner and I was halfway through my master prac. And I think that just really opened my eyes that there was other ways to do things and other ways to be. And the corporate life wasn't the life that was for me. And by going freelance, that allowed me just to open up to many possibilities. And I started to work as an associate for another training company. And carried on my personal learning journey at the same time. So then for the last 11 years, I've done a blend of associate work, coaching work, and then I started the School of Facilitation back in around 2014.
Awesome. So at uni, what was it you studied at university?
Geography.
Geography, right. Okay. And then so you went from geography degree and then went into sales and marketing, is that right?
Yeah,
so
correct.
Sales and marketing. So I guess looking at where you're at right now within the learning development atmosphere, if you like, what would you say the biggest thing what you've picked up from sales and marketing and kind of brought in and applied into learning development?
I think I was really lucky at Diageo because I was delivering commercial learning, sales learning, and it sat within the sales team. I wasn't part of HR. That, I think, was a really useful place to be. So I stayed truly connected to the sales teams. So when I was coaching and developing them, I really understood what it was that they needed and the place that they lived in themselves from a work perspective. So one of the things that I'm really conscious of in working with my own clients now is to understand their worlds and getting into their businesses. It's not just saying, oh, this is the learning solution. It's actually saying, well, what is it you need? What is it you do? Who are the end users? And if I can even get into trade and spend time with sales teams, because it's even now I support a lot of sales teams, that makes a lot of difference, I think, like stepping into the world of your learners and really understanding what it is they do so that when you're designing, it's a reality for them. It makes more sense.
Cool. Okay, so you joined. When was it you joined Diageo again? Sorry, what year was that?
So Diageo used to be 4 different companies: Guinness, United Distillers, Burger King, and as a food division that had Häagen-Dazs and Pillsbury. So I joined in '99.
Okay, cool. So 99 you joined, and kind of you working out what you're doing right there and then. I guess a lot of people probably don't know this, but maybe give us an insight into what their hidden intranet pages were like.
Oh yeah. So Do What You Love comes back in again in sort of around 2004, quite early in 2004. I got a wedding invite to one of my best mates from university's wedding in Australia, and I was like, yeah, definitely going to go to that. So booked I could book 3 weeks off, so I did that. And at the time, intranet pages I think were just coming into the fore. So I think I was having a really good read round and discovered this page that talked about sabbaticals, and I was like, oh, what's one of them? And read up that I could get between three months to a year off, but still come back to the business. So I was like, oh, okay. So I remember going to my director at the time with this proposition that I'd take 3 months off so I could go traveling around Australia and New Zealand and still come back to a job. And he agreed. And then HR came back to me and said, well, actually, no, can you take 6 months off because it's easier to do a placement cover? So I said, oh, yeah, all right then. So I did Australia and New Zealand, and then went and lived in Tignes in France and skied for 3 months at sort of the age of 31. And it was brilliant. Again, do what you love, because I have to say that career break was probably perfectly timed. I didn't realise that you could do that. So that was one thing. And then I also, just having time out was probably the right thing, because I never did that between school and university or university and work. So yeah, it was brilliant. And I went back into a job in the European team at Diageo, and that's when I got the global role in sales capability.
Nice.
So it all worked out for the right reason.
So when you went travelling around Australia, is there anything, any kind of, you hear about these people who kind of go and do these things and they find not their meaning in life, but they come back into, say, corporate world, and sometimes they struggle coming back into a corporate world after, going travelling. Is there anything what you picked up while travelling where, I guess, kind of changed your mindset a little bit, going back into the corporate world afterwards?
No, but I'd been made figuratively redundant from the GB team. And weirdly, at one point, I received an email from someone saying, I can't believe they've made you redundant. It's absolutely outrageous. And I just remember writing back to this colleague going, wow, I didn't know this. So bless him. And I round him up. He was like, oh my God, you didn't know. Anyway, it all transpired that there had been a discussion at board level. And thankfully, the MD stood up for me and said, no, she's away. You can't make someone redundant who's away. I guess that made me realise, you're only a number in a business. And therefore, you've got to look out for yourself and be ready to look after yourself. So when I came back, I didn't pursue roles directly in the GB business. I looked into Europe and global roles, which is probably the right thing, because that's when I ended up in a global sales role. So I didn't have any big pearls of wisdom, but that's something I did learn for myself. Yeah,
I think you can hear that quite a lot in corporate environments. If you die tomorrow, you get hit by a bus, somebody will just sweep up the work what you're working on, and the business will continue. I kind of guess that the business doesn't really have much emotion, to kind of any attachment to the people. It's just it's a machine. It's a machine. It is what it is. So. Yeah. You went from so you got the global role, which you decided was your dream job in 2005, was it?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, why was it your dream job?
Because I'd always wanted to be a teacher, and I suddenly was like this teacher of adults, and I was like, this is really cool, like standing at the front of the room, coaching people, sharing my knowledge, running workshops. And the added bonus was I got to travel. And I was really lucky. And I have to say, I'd get on many a plane on a Sunday night and say thank you. as I flew to China or Singapore or Bangkok or Australia or Africa or the States. And I knew I was really lucky at the age of 32 to be sort of flying all over the world and going and visiting different markets, having totally random experiences in some countries, and visiting places that I knew, I probably wouldn't visit if I didn't have this job. So that's why it became a bit of a dream role. And also the people I was working with. So the people I got to work with, I had some great mentors in my early years. A guy called Ben Lewis, who's still a great friend and mentor now. He taught me so much on the job. I would be facilitating at the front of a room. I remember this really clearly in Turkey. And I set the group off on an exercise, and suddenly this post-it note was thrust into my hand, which was behind my back. And it was classic Ben maneuver that he would be giving me feedback in the moment and, really stretching me to think about my delivery, my language, how I was showing up. And I had some great adventures. That was why it was my dream job. Even now, I've got a big smile on my face as I think about it. It was cool.
I've got a smile on my face, and I didn't even experience it. So I think the way you're talking about it, it definitely does come across. It really was a good moment in your life. So, I guess out of all the places you went travelling, where's a place you would recommend for our listeners? If you had to pick two of the places where you went, which two places would you go back to?
Ooh, it's really stumped me.
It was always going to be an hard question, that definitely, especially with your role as well. It's a tricky
my brain is really ticking. China's amazing because it is just so far off the spectrum to what we're used to in the West, and I really learned to put my Western values behind me as I got on an aeroplane, because you cannot judge what goes on in China with your Western hat on. And I had some really bonkers experiences in southern China. We got locked in a karaoke place. So karaoke is really big in China, and they're called KTVs, and it's a big channel for spirits to be sold. And we got locked in one of those rooms because the owner was unhappy with a comment that one of my colleagues had made. So that was entertaining. We went to go into a nightclub one night, and people were coming back out of the nightclub, and they're like, "You can't go in. There's a man there with a machete." You're like, "Okay," bit of a U-turn, and we'll head home. The food's incredible in China. You can't. It's really surreal. You can't read the street signs. You just don't know where you are, because unless you are Chinese, you can read Mandarin or Cantonese. The signs, the symbols mean nothing. So what you get at hotels as you're checking in, the hotel staff give you it looks like a business card, but it's to show the taxi drivers the name of your hotel and where you're staying, and it's all written in the local Chinese language, so that you can actually get yourself back home again, because you can't just jump in a taxi and in your best English, however polite and slowly you talk, get back home again, because it means nothing to the Chinese man who's driving me.
Wow,
so China would be one.
Okay.
Where else would I go back to? I'd always go back down to Australia and New Zealand. So I was really lucky. My last business trip with Diageo was down to Sydney. And that was incredible to work with the team down there. And just that was weird, because again, you're on the other side of the world. You just realise how far you travelled, like 24 hours worth of travel. But again, amazing city. Sydney's awesome.
Yeah, I've never been to Australia, but from the friends who I know who have been there, they have said, the social life is kind of next level. It's where, there's a lot of activities what are happening during the evening and stuff like that, and it's just a little bit more social. Is that kind of your experience of Australia, or is
yeah.
it? Yeah.
So outdoor lifestyle, massively. So there's always you have an extra room in your house, and it's the outside. And I was really lucky. I've got good friends who live down there as well, so I was able to go and sort of stay with people for weekends whenever I've been down there on business. And I love playing a lot of sport, so it's easy to go running there, diving, swimming, surfing. Yeah, you can do anything there. It's incredible.
So you mentioned, was it Ben Lewis, did you mention?
Yeah.
As your mentor? So I kind of...
Yeah, he's one of them.
Maybe... So what kind of... When I mentioned Ben's name, what's the three things what kind of jump out to when I mention his name as a mentor?
Colleen's going to listen to this as well. Big smiley face.
Okay.
We both share the same surname. So whenever we would check into hotels, his fear of us being checked into the same bedroom because people would think we were married, that would be his biggest fear, which makes me laugh. And his own passion for developing and growing people. And that shows up in his career choices because he's still a global sales director, always with a capability angle. And he'll always look to coach people and grow people.
Right. Okay. I mean, I know, when we've spoken in the past, mentoring and kind of coaching is big to you, and we'll probably touch upon that later on down the line. But it's good to know kind of the traits of what you class as a good mentor. So you resigned in around about, was it 2007? Did you mention?
Yeah.
And your dad's response was?
Does that mean you'll lose your BA gold card?
Stroke of genius.
I didn't tell my parents so I made the decision to resign in April 2007. I was on a workshop at the Queen's Club in West London, and I'd gone on this workshop for a friend because they were testing this new concept, and they said to people, will you just come and do this workshop with us, and we just need to test that the content works. And it was all about creating really fantastic objectives. So I worked on this objective all day, and it goes something like, it's April 2009, and I'm an NLP coach and trainer, and I earn £5,000 a month. I remember writing it thinking, yeah, right. And remember, I wasn't thinking about resigning at this point. So I worked on this all day, and I really worked on it. And I was like, wow, maybe this is a possibility. And I remember cycling home that night because I was living in London. And I rang one of my mates and I was like, I've got this idea. I might leave Diageo. And she's Aussie, Simone. She's like, matey, that's such a good idea. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, you should do it if that's what makes you happy. So it then took another 6 months for me to have my notice in. So there was lots going on in the business, and there were some really cool business trips coming up that I didn't want to miss, and we were launching a new academy, so I sort of timed it wisely. But yeah, I didn't tell my parents for about 4 or 5 months. I think I told them in the August before I resigned in the late September. And you choose wisely who you tell as well, your plans, otherwise people have a habit of accidentally stepping on them. Yeah,
so I guess when we was talking about this, I think your dad's reaction kind of sums it up. Sometimes I always think it's fascinating people's reactions to, i.e. I'm leaving, or I'm not leaving, or whatever. But yeah. I think your dad's kind of summed it up, because rather than him say, "Oh no, you can't do that," I think your dad's actual statement of "Will you lose a card?" sums up kind of maybe he's seen something what you didn't see because you were so invested into it, or maybe he knew you was making the right decision and it was perfect for you. I just found it interesting when you told me about your dad's response.
Yeah. Well, it made me laugh more than anything, because I was like, Dad, seriously? That's what you're worried about for me? I thought it was just really bizarre. Bless his cotton socks.
I love it. So you resign. You resigned 2007, and before we even get going into kind of what comes next, 2009 was a big year for you, right? Involved a bit of sailing. Is that right?
Oh yeah, it's amazing what I told you, then I seem to sleep from my memory. So I didn't take a holiday in 2008 because I thought, well, I can't, because A, didn't earn enough money, and B, I'm sort of just starting out. But I decided that in 2009 I would take a holiday, and I went sailing in Antigua in the April. And I just joined a crew, and I raced, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd never sailed before, let's just make that really clear. I was a hockey player, played a lot of squash, I'd go running. So getting on a boat in the Caribbean was a bit of a bonkers idea, but it was brilliant. It was a great holiday. And I suddenly thought, I really quite like this. So I came back to the UK and learned to sail all summer. And I signed up for a race across the Atlantic at the end of 2009, and I raced with a crew from the Canaries over to St. Lucia in November 2009, and we arrived 16 days later in December.
Wow. So what made you want to kind of take up sailing? What provoked that?
I had no preconceived ideas about this one, but I have no idea. Even now I look back and go, why did I do that? I just really enjoyed it. And what I enjoyed was camaraderie. It's a teamwork piece. And maybe I was missing having a team around me immediately in the workplace, because obviously when you start to work for yourself and you work on your own, there is that weird world that you suddenly inhabit where, whilst you still know lots of people, you're on your own a lot. So being in teams is important to me. So that was either through hockey or through the sailing. So I think maybe that's where it came from. And it played to the sports as well. It was really physical and really sporty.
So I guess, I mean, my ignorance on this one, I've never done sailing in my life. So from a challenging point of view, how challenging is that? Is it really hard? Is it what's kind of...
It depends. So there's all manner of types of boats out there. I mean, you've got the super yachts, which are beautiful, luxury, crystal glass and china and fine wines, all the way down to the smaller boats, which I'd like to say we are on. So we were a crew of 6 girls, and so you do everything. So you can't be a passenger. So we were in watches of 2 people, and you have 4 hours on and 4 hours off. So in your 4 hours off, you sleep, and 4 hours on, you're on deck sailing the boat and doing the cooking or the cleaning, and really quite active. So yeah, it was good.
Wow,
really good.
So you did this in 2009. I know we're going to skip a few more years. 2016.
Did it again. It came the other way this time. We went from Rhode Island back to the UK to Isle of Wight. Totally different crew this time. It was a mixed crew. There were two girls, 10 guys. It was called an oyster, Scarlet Oyster. Had a great time. We came second in our class. Though I guess the bit that made it really interesting is that we demasted 1 mile to the finish line, and which means the mast came crashing down onto the boat. Luckily, the tide was going towards Belgium, if you can imagine that in your heads, which meant that drifted us towards the finish line. And because we didn't receive any outside of assistance, it was deemed we finished the race unaided.
Wow.
So we still came second place. So it made it all the more interesting when we finally got there.
Just a bit. I bet there's kind of a feeling of achievement from that one.
Definitely, and really great crew as well. It was a good crossing. So, yeah.
Awesome.
But there were times it's really scary. There was times it was emotional. There was times you're laughing loads, and everybody's happy. So you do go through all range of emotions on offshore races, definitely.
So with the people who you was doing the sailing with, were they from all different walks of life, kind of all different industries, or was it just literally a mixed bag of people who was put together, kind of? No,
the second race, we pulled our own crew together. So we knew everybody who was racing, real mix. We had someone who is in forensics. There was an MD or in an automotive industry. There was an entrepreneur who does amazing stuff with solar power. In Africa, there was a guy who works in universities like a researcher. So yeah, it was a real mixed bag of people.
Oh, wow.
Came from all walks of life.
Sounds good. Forensics, kind of a soft spot for me. That's kind of what I did at university. So yeah, it's interesting. So going back, let's go back to kind of around about 2014. And guys, I'm not a stalker here of Kirsty. It's kind of just some information I've asked about her. It's not like I've kind of kept a diary of her. So 2014, when I asked you kind of sum up, 2014, one of the things which jumped out to me was the stuck in a bit of a fug, I think you called it.
And I use that word, a fug.
Yeah, it was an interesting word. So I guess, maybe walk me through that.
What was going on? So actually, I looked back, I found an email. So it was late 2013 into 14. And I was an associate at the time, and I was really happy doing lots of delivery. But for those of us who've done associate work, or maybe are associates, sometimes what happens is well, this is what happened for me. I felt like I was on a hamster wheel and I was delivering the same content and I was no longer getting joy from this. And I'd probably stayed 2 years too long in the associate relationship, but it served the purpose, which the guys who I work for knew this, because sadly in 2011, Mum died. And when you suffer loss of a parent, a friend, a partner, sometimes it's just easier just to do what you know. And so I called it plug and play. I just stayed in the plug and play world and just did what I know. But what was happening in 2011 was I was just starting to build my own client portfolio of my own clients to work with. But when you get sort of sideswiped with someone dying, you're like, actually, I can't be asked to do that. And having to put all your energy into, building client relationships and getting to know people is secondary when you're dealing with your own grief, or thinking you're dealing with your own grief, but probably just blatantly ignoring it, which I did quite well. So by the time 2013 came around, I think my unconscious was screaming at me and going, okay, I'm really bored right now. Come on, Kirsty, you've got stuff to offer. And I think the way it outwardly manifested itself was I just felt I had no energy to do anything. And I felt like I was either in the mud or in the fog. And it's like that fog of just sort of wading through, just wading. And one day, and this is the email I found, I was talking to another mentor, a lady called Helen Jane Nelson, who utterly awesome woman. And she has always been the person who's, has coached me, and we'll have those conversations that sort of says, she does an amazing, gentle style, but she's really getting straight to the point of, right, we need to sort you out here. Let's have a look. I'm going to introduce you. And she gifted me this most amazing coaching session with someone who became my coach for 2 years, a lady called Judy Wilkins-Smith, who's an amazing systemic constellation coach. And both of them are. And the systemic work is really great at revealing patterns that we repeat in our lives. It also helps you look at your family patterns and how we often bring our family situations into our workplace, which was quite revolutionary to be told and to look at that. So that's what started to happen in 2013. So by the time 2014 came around, I was working with a new coach who just was helping me look at things in a very different way and start to unlock the potential. So, yeah.
I think
that's what happened.
I spoke to a few different associates, and when I was looking at moving from O2, I kind of reached out to a few different associates and said, kind of how are you finding associate work? And a lot of them were quite close friends, and they said the exact same thing, to be honest, because it was a case of you are constantly on a bit of a wheel. It's people kind of like the thing of you can pick your own work and you can go and deliver and you know what you're doing, but eventually you are kind of chasing your own tail if you don't manage it properly. And I guess it feels a little bit.
I could get off on one about associate work.
Right.
I think I'll put it out there now, and it's a conversation I've been thinking, like, how do I bring it out to talk to people? So I have associates who work with me, and we have, I like to think, really good working relationships. And one of the things I really honor is their brains and what they bring to the relationship with my clients. And the way I honor that is how I pay them pro rata on the day rate. And one of my real frustrations is when I hear people who come through School of Facilitation and the gatherings, and we often talk about day rates, and they're just getting paid peanuts. And I'm like, my jaw hits the floor, and I just wonder how training companies can justify paying some people like 250 quid a day. And I think it just irritates me, because I know they're probably getting a higher day rate by a long shot.
Yeah. It's a really good shout, and that's kind of where the conversations tended to go. It was a case of, you could be driving up and down London, you could be making your way down to London for a day rate, and actually by the time you get home, you've got that work-life balance. Yeah. That's massively impacted straight away, especially if you're constantly working down London. So I kind of I feel like it could be quite isolated as a role. With yours, it sounds like you've kind of got that nice family feel to it, and is, you completely respect them. But a few who I spoke to kind of said, it can be quite lonely and quite isolating.
Yeah, I think and again, each business operates in such different models because there is no one way, and I mean that is the beauty of having your own business. I think it's I'm one of my values is abundance. One of my values is generosity, to be generous. And I guess maybe some people might say, but you're too generous in your day rates. And I'm like, well, guess what? I get really great people who want to work with me, and I've got awesome clients. So I think I want the clients to have the best possible experience that they can have. And I also acknowledge that the people who are facilitating and delivering are the ones who are doing all the hard work at the end of the day. And honouring them as well. And it's just that balance of exchange, of give and take. And people recognise that. So I think that's why then people come back, or clients come back again. But I know that's not everybody's attitude and model to this situation.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it's actually something you just said about associates getting a bit isolated. That was one of the other reasons I started School of Facilitation, is that I really recognised that on the practitioner side, we all often work on our own, and we're quite self-sufficient, but there is that need to connect and talk and find other like-minded souls who understand the world that we inhabit. And therefore I started the gatherings. It started as a breakfast club actually in London, and I just invited lots of facilitators and trainers and coaches that I knew and said, do you want to come along? And it sort of spiraled out from there, in that we have gatherings once a quarter, so people can come along and have a good old natter, but there'll always be a theme as well that we use. And then also just started playing around with the virtual space and doing monthly webinars for facilitators and trainers, and that's working really well, in that people can just come and talk and connect with one another and suddenly realise they're not the only one with the same problem probably.
Wow, it's a great thing.
Good to know.
So 2014, you stuck in this book, and you said you struggled to motivate yourself, but over time you did. And I guess how did you motivate yourself? You mentioned you had is it Helen and Julie?
Judy. So Judy Wilkins-Smith is she's based out in Austin, Texas, except she's South African, so it's a really bit bizarre. Now you talk to someone in America with a South African accent, and I worked with her as a coach for a good year, really looking at like what was holding me back, why was I running different belief systems that I could or couldn't do something. And that really helped, shining a light in the brain as to why I was doing certain things or not doing certain things. And also just started to voice out aloud my ideas around what does great delivery look like for a facilitator or a trainer, what does great learning design entail, and testing that out outside of my own head with other people, and realizing that it did have a role to play. And so I think the first breakfast meeting in London was like August 2015. I think that's right. Yeah, it was around then. But it took a while. And I think sometimes you have to go into those darker spaces. You have to be a bit stuck in the mud to make you realise that something's not working or something's not right. And you've got to really listen to yourself to then go, okay, what can I do differently? And sometimes we can't resolve it ourselves. So therefore, working with coaches or working through a problem with someone that you trust is the right thing to do. I genuinely believe that. And you can't always solve your own problems. So I read a lot as well. So I read a lot of books and articles. Go to TED as well. A couple of good TED talks never fail to motivate you. So that all helped, definitely.
Okay, so let's change the gears a little bit then. So these questions are kind of the quick fire round, but if they're not, do not worry. Yeah. If there's a bigger explanation, then go for it. So, First question. If you was to offer a book as a gift to 3 people, what book would it be?
Do Purpose by David Hyatt.
Okay. And why?
Why? Because I'm just walking thing, get it? It's really simply written. There's lots of awesome big pictures. There's great messages that litter the book. One being self-imposed, insanely impossible deadlines often help. And it's written in a really candid, no-nonsense kind of way, and it makes sense.
Okay, superb. With resources, so you can't use Google, you can't use YouTube, and you can't use LinkedIn. What's the free resources you use right now?
What free resources do I use right now? Yeah. My own network.
Okay.
My own newsletter network. I reach out to people. I use Instagram a lot. So I've got quite a few connections on there, and I talk to people on there and ask people to, and I have conversations with them. What else? My Kindle. I lost my Kindle the other month, and I was so irritated, so I had to buy another one straight away. So downloading books and reading. Okay. My other resources.
Okay, that's good. So I guess and I say I guess a lot because it's a tricky one to kind of phrase this question, but I'll just say how it is. So what's the worst advice you have heard in our industry being given to somebody?
In our industry?
Yeah. And let's just be quite generic. Yeah, learning development.
Oh. I'm trying to think of a time that I've just sat there and rolled my eyes and gone, oh, are you kidding me?
It could be advice to kind of what you've heard someone give to say you need to do this, or it could be some advice to say you should be doing this, but really they shouldn't be doing that, and they could be, I don't know, doing their own thing.
Danny, I've either deleted it or I haven't heard any for a long time.
That's good for me. That is good for me, which is good that you're not hearing it, I guess, is a lot better than you hearing it constantly.
I'll tell you what, if I come across anything, I will email it to you and you can add it at some point.
Yeah.
So, as a footnote.
That's fine. So you've gone into kind of the school facilitation, you've got this is setting up now, it's been a work in progress. So I just want to touch upon kind of what that's all about, really. So in a nutshell, if I was to ask you, explain to me what it is, explain it to a 3-year-old, how would you do that? How would you do that?
So I get to teach adults how to be really good at any subject they want to be at by showing them how to be a really good teacher. Love it.
Absolutely love it. So,
oh my God.
So school facilitation, it's it's your company now. So maybe just tell us a bit about that. Like what's your principles on design and delivery, and how do you shape the great products what you offer and the great programs and courses and whatnot? What's like your principles behind school facilitation?
Oh my God, that is really funny. I still find my scribblings, and I wrote. I found a page that said, "What are my principles today?" And I was like, "Why haven't I said those out aloud for a while?" So one of my main principles is that learning should be totally focused on the learners. And therefore, the way you create learner-centric events should be through our language, our content, and the materials. And I've always had a belief, and another one of my teachers, Tim Andrews, uses the language of move the spotlight from the trainer to the learner. So that was one of the things I first really learned was, and I still believe it now, is it's not about us at the front of the room or behind a camera or producing virtual learning. It's about the learners themselves. So how do you take the spotlight off you and put it on the people who really need to learn? What else? Less is more.
Okay.
I think we have to we're asked by our clients to put a lot of content into a half day, a full day session, but actually less is more. You get more done. I think also, how do you create the time to learn and how do you create that passion for learning is equally important. So whether that's you designing learning, so how do you bring adults into that learning space? Because as adults, we all come with a package, we all come with beliefs and values. How do you acknowledge those? And when you're in that space, how do you inspire them to want to engage with what is about to happen? But also, how do we, as the trainers, the facilitators and coach, how do we create our time to learn? And how do we show our passion for learning as well? So those are some of my beliefs. And if ever you come along to any of my sessions, you'll see that it's firmly about the group and it's not about me in the slightest. I see us as conductors at the front of the room. We're there to bring the orchestra alive. So that's probably part of my philosophy, yeah.
Good analogy, I like that. So when you have 80-20 rule, so 20% of the contacts in my phone, I dial 80% of the time. The other 80%, I dial 20% of the time. Yeah. And if you was, what's your biggest 80-20 rule, maybe professionally, personally? What is a small thing what you do what gives a big impact and a big return? What would be the main 80-20 rule you use?
Look after yourself.
Okay.
So one thing I've learned to do in the last 11 years is be more selfish, and not be selfish in a mean girl kind of way, but in a I'm looking after myself, and that means saying no to other things. And I really think we need to all learn how to resource ourselves more fully. And I talk about how do you resource yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, so that when you are working with your clients, you are on fire. You know, you are totally on point. So for me, that means I think about what I eat, what I drink, how much sleep I get in a day. For me, I have to do physical exercise. If I could do it every day, all day, I probably would. But, you know, going to the gym, yoga, running, skiing, sailing, that's just integral to my life. It's not a if, it's a must. Also my own self-learning. So that resourcing piece as well. So interestingly, I wrote about it recently. I turned down a piece of work because I already had booked in my diary my own learning time, and I'd already signed on for a course that was on, even though this piece of learning, this job came up and they were like, please, will you come and do it? And I was like, no, because it went against the grain of my own philosophy of learning. So yeah, that would be my 80-20 rule. Make time for yourself.
Okay, so when, you know, sometimes we all have these moments where we kind of get stressed or we lose focus of what we're meant to be doing and we kind of get overload. Is there any tips what you do to kind of switch your focus back on? Or maybe it's a kind of what's your tips to switch off? But when you do lose focus, is there anything you do to kind of bring the focus back on? What you need to do?
Get outside into nature. I think I notice that when I'm starting to get either tired or frustrated or I can't see the wood for the trees, I suddenly go like, when was the last time I was outside? And interesting, last week I found really hard to get motivated again after the snow, after the real cold spell. So yeah, go for a walk, or if you're a runner or a cyclist, get out on your bike, put your trainers on, or just put on some decent shoes and just go out for half an hour and leave your phone at home and don't have your head down in the phone, but just literally go back and reconnect with nature. I think and just think about your breathing. I think that really helps.
Okay. So what's you mentioned, you know, you've kind of become a little bit more, we use the word selfish, but in the best possible way with your own time. How do you, what's the one thing you've got better at saying no to?
Ooh. Going out.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's an age thing as well, that I cannot be bothered to go out. But there definitely was a time in my 30s when I was living in London that there'd be FOMO kicking off if I thought I said no to a Saturday night. I think that all sort of changed though, because I now live in the middle of nowhere in the countryside, and I'm really quite content saying no now, or not even making the plan to go out. That's definitely made a difference.
If you was to, and these are just, I save the quick fire questions, but they never are because they're just quite good questions. But if you were to have a sign where you could put up anywhere you want, and this sign's going to impact thousands of millions of people who walk past it on a day-to-day basis, and the idea is this sign will provoke a thought, or the butterfly effect of what your sign, your billboard says.
Oh my God.
What would that sign say? And it could be a quote, it could be a message, it could be anything, but what would it be?
Oh, do what you love.
Do what you love. Okay, so same as your tagline.
Don't be scared to do it.
Oh yeah, that's good. So talk to me about what School of Facilitation offers. So I know about it, but I want you to kind of explain it to me a bit more, because obviously we've only touched on it a little bit, and I know it's a massive part of your life.
It's fine. The business is split in two. We have the corporates and the practitioners. So practitioners are people like yourself, or all those people out there who run their own training, coaching, facilitation business, or might be an associate. And I, as you might be recognising, have a belief that if we are offering ourselves, our services to clients, we need to be at the top of our game, and therefore we always need to be ahead of the curve. And sometimes because we're in the business of helping and supporting others, we sometimes forget about our own needs, and therefore we put ourselves at the bottom of the pile. So I'm on a bit of a journey to remind people, actually, you can look after yourself. You need to grow your own capabilities, your own knowledge base when it comes to facilitation and training. And therefore, we offer a variety of things now. So there's the free online resources. There's the webinars once a month on a Monday morning. There are one-day classes. So if you want to dip your toe into how to design great learning workshops, meetings, we've got a one-day design class. Do delivery practice as well. So I don't know, Danny, when was the last time someone watched you deliver a workshop and someone you trusted and gave you feedback? It's a good question. So I guess probably about 2 months ago. The reason behind that is when I deliver now, I kind of don't really, it's very specific what I deliver, but I always try to bring in my mentor, especially when the first time when I bring it in. Yeah. Just so that I already have that relationship, and he can be brutally honest with me. And not everyone thinks like that, Danny. So you get a gold star. But a lot of us who work on our own, if you ask that question of some of your future suppliers, when was the last time someone gave some feedback on your delivery? Often it's like, haven't had any for a very long time. So the delivery class is that space for you to come and practice and play and just get some feedback on how you're showing up. But because there's another 5 or 6 people in the room with us, we get to see lots of different styles. So there's a great learning there. We've got some new classes coming up, which is quite exciting, on graphic. I love my posters, so how you use posters and graphics, and one on language. So it's just about creating spaces for the other facilitators and trainers, though, to come together, meet like-minded people, and just keep growing themselves, but also connecting so you don't feel like you're on your own. On the corporate side, it's working with businesses that want to deliver their own learning in-house, which I come from that school of thought at Diageo and totally buy into it. But what you're finding is it's the managers who are being asked to step up suddenly into a trainer-type role or a facilitator type role, and that's not what they signed up to do in their job. They could be a salesperson, they could be a marketeer, they could be finance, and so suddenly they're like, "Oh, you want me to do what?" So going and doing some really simple training with them on their language, their use of energy, the room, content design. So working with corporates that way, and also because my background is sales, I've I do support quite a few corporates to launch their global sales academies, and resource them and find them external facilitators and trainers around the world. So just a very different side, but equally fun.
Wow. So the sessions where you kind of get all the other facilitators together and you give them that safe environment to practice, maybe, is that done face to face? Is that what you use the virtual webinars for? How does that brought together?
That's face to face at the moment. So it's a good question, actually. So they're face to face sessions.
Okay. And website? What's your website for this, for your School of Facilitation?
It's schooloffacilitation.com.
Oh, wow. kind of knew that one, didn't I? So,
you didn't look at that one. I won't take it personally.
No, I do. I did look at it. I was just like, I want you to say it, own your own message. What?
I love it.
If in your whole, let's just say end to end, maybe in your whole working environment, in your whole working life, if I said to you, you can only do 2 parts of your whole job and you have to do them for the rest of your life, what 2 parts would it be? What 2 hours would it be? Sorry, not 2 parts. What 2 hours?
2 hours?
Yeah.
So it's the same 2 hours all the time?
Yeah, exactly that. What 2 hours of your whole working career would you do?
What, 2 hours that I've already had?
Yeah, so for me, it might be 2 hours of just, I don't know. I know what my sweet spot is. My sweet spot's creative thinking and design. I love delivery, but I actually love brainstorming and coming up with creative, wacky ideas. So mine would be that, the brainstorming and the wacky ideas. But yours will be completely unique to you. So I'm just wondering what it would be.
That's not fair. It would be a gathering, a mini 2-hour gathering.
Okay. Good comeback there, Kirsty. Good comeback. I like that one. So you talk about gathering. Okay. Why?
Yeah.
Why did you pick that?
Because it's always a passionate group who want to be there for their own, learning, connecting, meeting new people. And the conversations just go off on different tangents, but they're always around learning, development, training, facilitating, running your own business, clients, how to deal with problems. But they're never the same conversations, so it makes it really interesting. And it's always a really passionate group of people that show up as well. So you just get great conversations. Okay. Yeah, it's always stimulating. And also what I love is hearing stories afterwards that people have connected outside of those meetings, those gatherings, and they've gone on to have their own telephone calls or gone to other events together, or even in some instances started working together. So that to me is really exciting, that I've helped facilitate that.
Okay, good. And just kind of as just a follow-up on that one then. So you get these, and I call, I call them scrums for some reason. It's because of a new terminology. But you get these big groups of people coming together. And I guess, maybe let's widen it out a bit. Has there ever been kind of an idea which you've seen, and this can be literally anything in the whole world? Is there ever an idea what you've seen launched? Or maybe it's a piece of training, what you've seen, and you've gone, God damn it, I wish I'd come up with that idea. What piece would it be? And just to make it extra hard, you can only come up with one.
God, you're a right pain in the ass, aren't you? What I've seen someone else do that's made me go, oh, I wish I did that. Does it have to be within training, or it can be in anything?
Can be in absolutely anything.
I feel so boring and dull. I can't think of anything. What do I really... I can't think of anything off the top of my head, Danny. That's far too hard.
Okay, that's fine. We'll swerve that one for now. So
yeah, let's swerve and come back if we need to.
Yeah, definitely. I think these questions, I've picked them because they're hard. So do not worry if you can't come to it. I know for a fact I probably wouldn't like to be asked these questions myself. But I guess, what's something what you've learned recently, and how have you learned it? How have you learned it?
So I have been learning about systemic constellations in the last 2 years, and the way I have learnt it is four different ways. Firstly, being coached using that methodology. So that gave me a real insight as to what it was like to be the receiver of a constellation. I've then been actually gone and learnt more deeply about systemic constellations, and have been I've done three years of learning in family practice and then organizational practice. Then I'm reading books, and then also practicing by delivering.
Okay.
Or learning by delivering.
Like that. Learning by delivering. So I guess we're kind of coming to the 1 hour mark now, so I've just got a couple more questions and then I can let you go, Kirsty. So question 1.
Yeah.
When you was a child and you was in school and the teacher would ask you what you wanted to be when you grew up, and I know we've talked about teaching in the past, but what would you normally say?
Be a teacher.
Be a teacher.
Be a teacher.
Okay. So we know, we never stop growing and we never really grow up. We're constantly growing. So if I was to ask you that question now,
yeah,
and I say to you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What would the answer be?
Me.
Yes. Best answer so far, that one, Kirsty. Best answer so far.
Thank you.
That's brilliant. So, 8 years' time, you kind of, there's 80-year-old you over there, and it's giving you a piece of advice right now. What's the piece of advice they would give you what you're still struggling to take?
It's okay to be you, and it's okay to accept the gifts you've got.
Nice. I love it. So where can people find out a bit more about Kirsty and a bit more about School of Facilitation? Where can we go?
Website, schooloffacilitation.com.
Okay.
Come and find me on Instagram.
Yep.
School of Facilitation. I have far too much fun on there. I just really enjoy making Insta stories and also just putting up photographs and musings. I'm on LinkedIn, but that's under Kirsty Lewis.
Okay.
And Twitter.
Awesome. I'll link everything. In the show notes anyway, just so that we've got them direct links. But
cool.
For me, Kirsty, I wanted to say a personal thank you. I know when I very first started out in my last recent job, you reached out to me and kind of we had a call and you kind of set my nerve a little bit and you recommended a book and stuff. So just from a personal point, I'd like to say thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
It was the right amount at the right time, I think. And that call was perfect.
Very good.
Awesome, Kirsty. Well, other than that, I think we're done here.
Excellent. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks for taking the time out. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, Danny.
Cheers.
Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Kirsty, at the start, I asked you to pick some numbers, 5 numbers. You picked 1, 9, 17, 22, and 8.
And 9.
Okay. And 9. So, here's the things. Them numbers are tallied to some random objects. So, you're stuck on a desert island.
Yeah.
And these objects you have picked are... Number 9 was a glow stick.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 was a spoon.
Yeah.
Number 17 was a bookmark.
Perfect.
Number 22 was a Sharpie marker. And,
awesome.
and number 8 was a slipper. So you're stuck on a desert island and it's literally a case of what do you do with these items? Go for it.
Well, being a facilitator, I take the Sharpie pen. I'm in 7th bloody heaven, aren't I? So I would be finding anything that I could draw on, probably rocks, and be creating things with my Sharpie pen. The glow stick would probably be around my wrist or around my head by that point. The spoon, I love cooking and eating, so I guess I tried to use that to make something or to eat something. The bookmark, well, stuck on a desert island, I would have been allowed to have brought the Bible and Shakespeare's greatest works, just like desert island discs. So I would be using that to mark my pages. And a slipper. I just now have an image of hopping around on one foot up and down a beach.
I love it. Right, well, Kirsty, it has been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure too, Danny.